Welcome in. It is the Nightcap, a live version of the Nightcap as we wrap up our Big 12 Media Day coverage here at Bearcat Journal. This is, as always, a service of Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Go to the app. They will bring it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Or get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off of your order. All right, boys. It's not just Aaron and I tonight. We bring in our good friend live from the Dallas Metroplex, Keegan
Fort
Nicholson.
Worth.
Fort Worth, Dallas.
Specifically Fort Worth.
Arlington. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's been an eventful day as the Bearcats were on the podium. Scott Satterfield, the Godfather in the jet black suit, Dante Corleone, Deshaun Pace with the bow tie, Emory Jones with the Cinco, the sauce-style Cinco chain. Jawan Briggs was apparently singing for Fox. So a lot going on. Our guy Keegan Nicholson, when he wasn't hanging out with Tonk, our guy Keegan Nicholson was all over it. And we thought it would be ideal to bring him in and have him talk all things Media Day. Keegan, give us an overview of the day as I get this information on Twitter. Give us an overview of the day, what it was like, taking in the Bearcats portion of Media Day.
I think they looked like they belonged. I think that was the most important thing. Satterfield was calm, cool, and collected, and it was great to talk to him and the players. The main thing that I got, and it's kind of an angle of the story that I wanted to write, was talking about Deshaun Pace, Jawan Briggs, and Dante Corleone being local, homegrown guys. Corleone and Pace from Colerain, Briggs from Walnut Hills, and just kind of them seeing it through. Going to Cincinnati, like reaping the awards of being in the Big 12 now. So it was just a great sight to see. It was great to talk to Brent Venables. That was awesome. But yeah, it was a great day. Really jam-packed. Woke up really early, got there early, had to wait outside because I'm just so committed to the grind and serving this team at Bearcat Journal. But it was fun. I'd say it was less eventful than the Mike Gundy day on Wednesday, but it was still a really good day.
Aaron,
what do you feel like you learned about Scott Satterfield today that you didn't know yesterday?
That's a great question. I don't know if I learned anything. I think he continues to show. Go ahead.
I guess, did you get any vibes? Did you get, I feel like he talked long enough that you should have gotten a certain feel for who he was. I mean, he was up on the podium, I think, for about 15 minutes. And then you had the breakout where it was another 15 minutes. You got to listen to him talk for roughly 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
He's not short on responses. I feel like he elaborated really well. What general vibes, feelings do you feel like you got from Coach Satterfield?
I think he continues to show he's a calm, cool, and collected guy, and that he's not stressing anything too much. I don't think he thinks that he's too important. He's willing to talk to us. He's willing to give us the answers that we want. He doesn't want us constantly grasping at straws for anything. So he wants to share as much about his team as he can. And I think that's what he gave us a lot of today. I asked him about Emory Jones running the ball. He didn't give we'll see what happens. It was, we want him. We want to utilize his legs because he's one of the fastest players on our team. Told us about Miles Montgomery and Corey Kiner, saying that's going to be a running back by committee. There's not really going to be a bell cow. Now that could change come the season. But it was fun.
In that particular response, he also didn't shy away from the fact that he does understand that there's three other guys that could come up behind Miles and Corey as well. So it's not as if they're light at that position.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was fielding a lot of questions about NIL and the transfer portal too. And he was one of the more like open guys that I had heard talk about it when he was blatantly saying we need more roles, we need more uniformity. Texas is getting away with just Texas as a whole state, not just Texas as the college, is getting away with too much because they have way less regulation than the rest of the country. So he's not holding his cards too close to the vest, and I think that's really refreshing to see from a Cincinnati head coach.
Yeah, we're so used to getting coach speak answers, or even when, like, just in general from anybody, or even when Luke was here, that I don't know what anybody else is doing. I live under a rock, so that was his go-to. Chad's favorite answer.
Yeah, he was open about the media poll too. Like, a lot of coaches are like, I don't pay attention to that. He said, no, I looked at it. I talked to the team about it, and everyone's pretty pissed off. So I'm looking forward to seeing that response. I wanted to ask him, a lot of people say it doesn't matter, but you can take it that way, or you can say this is a motivator. We're going to look at this every day in the weight room during practice. We're going to say we have to prove these people wrong. I would have been interested to see his response to that, but he was pretty open, saying he doesn't think it means a lot, but he knows where they're ranked. Where I think Gus Malzahn didn't even know that UCF was the highest ranked newcomer out of the 4 teams.
Liar.
Bullshit.
They told him.
Bullshit.
Someone asked, like, is there more pressure being the highest ranked team in the Big 12 out of the newcomers? He said, are we? I don't even know.
Liar. That's a goddamn lie.
Of the players, who did you enjoy? Because I know I have a favorite already, but who did you enjoy listening to their responses the most?
Juwan Briggs, and it wasn't even close. I would say he went, and this is from a journalistic standpoint, where you have a lot of players that'll just be like, yeah, it was cool, it was fine, and then that's their answer because they're not really media trained, which is okay because they don't have to be. They're there to play football. But Juwan Briggs gave very interesting answers and was willing to go like deeper and deeper into every answer. I loved his answer to me when Scott Springer asked him about being a Cincinnati kid, and then I asked him about, like, was that the driving force behind staying through the coaching change? He said, look, when you got a good thing going, why quit? Mm-hmm. And I love that answer. And that really speaks volumes for him, Dante Corleone, and Deshaun Pace, for people that would have had plenty of suitors if they entered the portal, but they trust Satterfield, but they think it's bigger than the coach. They think it's an institution thing, so that's where they're staying.
Yeah, I'm always happy when Juwan Briggs is in front of a microphone. Just his energy is amazing at all times. He's always at the same just calm level here, but it's always just such a good feel for every time he talks. But I was most intrigued to hear what Emory had to say, mainly because he's the newest voice of the 4 that was down there. And Emory clearly is excited to be a part of this thing. And what were your takeaways in regards to Emory before I give what I took away?
I think he is extremely relieved to be at Cincinnati. I feel like the past 2 years have been very, very hard on him. And it's just been a constant uphill battle of, I have a coach at Florida who's on the hot seat and who's going to get fired like the day after the season. And then I have a coach at Arizona who's on the hot seat, or Arizona State who's on the hot seat. And from that video that we all saw the day before he got fired, looked like he got fired as he was walking off the field. Right. So he's in as stable position as you really can be in college football, unless you're at the Alabamas or the Georgias, because you have a first-year head coach that they hired away from a program. He's not walking away from being fired. You can all have your takes on how that was going to go at Louisville. But Emory Jones is going to be Scott Satterfield's first quarterback, but not the last one. I feel like he's going to have a lot of quarterbacks. So Emory Jones is really setting the table for what can be Scott Satterfield's offense and program at Cincinnati. And Trina told me this when they were on their visit. Trina, Emory's mom, told me she sensed a certain level of comfort when he was talking to Pete Thomas. And it was something that she hadn't seen anywhere else. and Malik Cunningham vouched for Pete Thomas and Scott Satterfield. So they had to reinforce that this was the right decision. It wasn't a normal, this school's cool. They have momentum. We're going to go there. It was, I have so many people tell me this is where I want to go. I think this is where I want to go. I'm sure about it. So I think he's locked in. I think he's finally stable. That's the word he kept on using, was stability. So I think he's comfortable, and that could definitely have an impact on how he plays throughout the season.
Well, he went into the spring game as QB 1A, 1B, whichever one you want to say, with Ben Bryant. Ben Bryant goes to Northwestern, and the shit show that's since become.
It's all his fault.
But right. But Emory now is the clear-cut number one guy.
Yeah.
There's no, at this point, I don't know that it's a competition for his job.
No.
So I think that can offer a little bit of that stability that you're talking about. He got to talking about some of his weapons that he's going to have at his disposal. He would, even Satterfield got to talking about the character of Emory Jones, and we've heard this story before. It's not the first time that Satterfield's answered in regards to the challenge of having Emory and Ben Bryant competing with one another, but he said they built each other up, and that's exactly what you want to see in the character of a leader on your team. Satterfield also talked about the leadership that he exuded immediately and how players just started looking at him as a leader pretty much as soon as he stepped in the room, because he didn't come to take anybody's job. He came to work. So is there anything else that you can elaborate on that in regards to the character of Emory Jones that we maybe heard today or didn't hear?
Yeah, at Arizona State, he got there after spring practice, and he felt that he had to really, really rush the process. Respect. He got to UC in January, and he didn't have to rush the process, but it seems the process was naturally rushed because of how well he did in earning everyone's respect. You talked about like the weapons. I don't want to read into it too much, but Emory specifically mentioned Wiggins, Ali, and Xavier Henderson and Evan Prater. So I don't know where that stands in terms of a hierarchy, in terms of who's going to get the most reps. But if that's who Emory feels the most comfortable with, I think that could be a solid four-player rotation that you have there that could possibly be used. I don't know who else. Who else do you think outside of those four could see like significant playing time? Braden Smith,
Barry Jackson, potentially. As he
they,
showed out.
They talked about him again, so. But I would like to see that, honestly.
Aaron Turner as well, I guess.
Yeah. Satterfield said he's going to be in the slot, could possibly be jet sweep motion type guy, but he's interesting.
He's like 5'6".
Yeah, but he doesn't have game changing speed. Like he's fast. But in terms of being that small, like thinking about Tyreek Hill level speed, he doesn't have that.
It's like the second fastest dude in the NFL. Like,
you know what I mean?
He's not the fastest guy in football, but like,
in terms of, he's not the fastest dude on the team. I don't know if he's faster than Emory Jones or Xavier Henderson. That's what I'm getting at.
I would take that bet.
Doesn't matter if you're the fastest, though, if you have a quick first step, right? I mean, essentially, especially coming out of the slot, you're only looking for gains, right? I mean, as long as you can get 5, 7, 8 yards coming out of the slot, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. He's extremely intriguing, and I really, really, really look forward to seeing how. Thank you, Bearcat Nick. How they're going to use him this upcoming season, because those short guys, they can do a lot. Like a lot. They can stretch the field. They can take screens. They can go out of the backfield. It's pretty exciting watching them.
Generally, on those guys, for me, if you see elite punt return ability, then I get excited. Like that's what lets me know that they have that shiftiness in space, that ability to make guys miss. And granted, he was playing at a level just above high school at UConn. But
I think they played Liberty. Come on.
But I I get excited when I see guys that have shown in the return game that they have that vision and that, because as a punt returner, man, anymore, that job is to either fair catch or to catch it and get 6 yards.
Yeah.
Like, get close to an extra first down and then get the offense on the field. That's a dude that legitimately was like making people miss in the return game and getting chunks. So that tells me that there's something there with him that can be successful even at, jumping up 4 levels like he's doing.
Now you brought up Evan Prater at receiver, which has apparently been
we're finally getting to 15 minutes, finally getting to the lead.
The hot topic of the day.
Yeah.
We had to let people get in here. We've been talking about that on this channel for weeks. We've made mention of it several different times. We've not been shy about saying that Evan has been taking snaps at receiver. But this is the first time that's been spoken about by the team publicly. Evan put out a tweet earlier tonight basically saying he wants to do anything to help the team win. So everybody is fully on board with Evan making the transition at this point fully from quarterback to receiver. Were you surprised hearing that?
No, and we talked about it before the show, but I was under the impression he was never going to play quarterback again for the University of Cincinnati. One, he didn't play well when he had the opportunity. 2, he was playing through injury, so he was injured. 3, the minute, and I mean the minute, you have a quarterback taking wide receiver reps, you do not take him seriously as someone who can lead your offense at quarterback anymore. So
I'm going to disagree with you there wholeheartedly on pretty much everything you said.
Name me a quarterback who's taking reps at wide receiver that came back and led his team to a wonderful season. Tony Pike?
Name me a quarterback that the reason that they gave him a look at wide receiver was because he couldn't throw.
That's what I'm
like.
They
had to shut him down. So, and what was going to happen with this experiment in the summer, which is what we've explained here, they were going to see how he looked. And if it looked like something he could do, then they were going to go forward with wide receiver. If not, then they were going to get his shoulder fixed and try to get him, back healthy enough to play quarterback. But he couldn't, that was the problem in the spring. The problem wasn't that he was playing bad at quarterback, is he couldn't lift his arm up enough to throw a football. He couldn't, do the throwing motion. So I think you're taking it a little overboard in what you're saying, but the end result is still the same. They worked him out at wide receiver, and he looked good enough at wide receiver that everybody said, okay, let's continue this and move this from experiment to position change.
Well, because at the end of the day, every time he had the ball in his hands, he was always the most electric player on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great athlete. He would have been a MAC or maybe even, depending on how it played out, an A10 level basketball player. He's a very good basketball player. And he has all of that athletic ability. So, I don't think it's fair to Evan to classify it as he never had a shot at ever playing quarterback again. I think his shoulder just was not in great shape, which they realized at the start of spring. They tried to let it heal naturally. And then when they got to the summer, it was let's see if there's something there at wide receiver. And they clearly think that there was. Everybody's has been very complimentary of how he's looked in workouts in the wide receiver room this summer. So I just don't want to give it a bad connotation.
Which I'm not trying to do, but I'll ask you this.
Well, that was very definitive things that you said.
I know, which I'm willing to stand behind. But say he gets surgery, gets the medical red shirt, comes back next season. Do you think he competes with Drogosh for the starting quarterback in Cincinnati?
Absolutely. He competed for starting quarterback for 2 years here. With
Dez.
With Dez. He was Dez's backup and Ben's backup.
He was never threatening Dez to start at quarterback.
Well, no shit. Dez was the number 2 quarterback taken in the draft.
I know, but I'm saying, do you think he could threaten Drogosh to start?
Yes. A redshirt freshman that's never taken a snap, and compared to a guy that had started for 4 years and was going to be an NFL draft pick. Yeah, I do think he would have competed next year after Emory Jones if he was still in the quarterback room.
And let's not kid ourselves. I mean, we haven't even seen Samaj yet, so that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Right. True freshman, probably unlikely. But
I agree, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah. So I disagree with the premise that like there was never a chance. He injured his shoulder in the South Florida game, the first game that he came in for Ben. So all the games the rest of the way, he was playing way more injured than he ever let on.
Yeah.
So let's just give Evan a fair shake in this before we dismiss it as the guy had never had a chance of playing quarterback and should have been moved to wide receiver 3 years ago.
Which his move to wide receiver, which you've already discussed, is a compliment of how extremely uber athletic he is. Like he's one of the more gifted players on the entire roster. That's funny. He's one of the most gifted players on the roster.
Scott. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
But I'm saying it's which, funnily enough, when I'm about to say this, there's another player on the roster that had a quarterback change from quarterback. But I feel like that change going from quarterback to other positions isn't as common if you know that guy can lead your program eventually. So that's what I'm saying. So if he's going to lead your program, it's okay, you're getting surgery and you're going to play quarterback for us. It's not really, we're going to try this out and see. But I think he's going to be a stellar wide receiver. I really do. He's so fast and agile, and he's so tall he can be a red zone threat. So
I certainly agree there.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he looks like in camp and just to see how quickly he can develop in this offense as everyone's learning it, essentially. I mean, most of the guys that you have in that wide receiver room at this point, I think you had, 6 guys in spring ball?
Yeah.
Depending. I mean, there were guys that were here and then kind of peeled off. And by the end of spring, there wasn't a whole lot of bodies in that wide receiver room. That's
so, I mean, he's at least on the same page as most guys in learning the offense and as far as how many reps that the rest of the room has taken. He's not playing from too far behind the 8 ball there. Letting you off the hook a little bit as far as the offense goes. We'll switch gears and talk about the defense. As you had Juwan Briggs talking today, you had Deshaun Pace talking for as much as he talks, and then you had Dante talking. Dante is clearly coming into his own. He is learning how to respond to the media as he's had a ton of exposure really since the season's ended. But you talk about guys who are there to play football and not talking. You see the difference between 10 minutes, and 4.5 minutes as far as the response time went.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Juwan and Dante clearly are playing on a veteran squad on the defensive line. Deshaun's excited to show what he can do in guarding that's the word he used, guarding receivers as opposed to tight ends. But all of them excited from the sounds of it to play in this defense. And not only that, but everyone had glowing reviews of Coach Nico.
Mm-hmm. And they said he was different than Brady, which is the most interesting thing. Because Brady Collins had he had a stranglehold on that strength program. I mean, he was universally recognized as one of the better strength coaches in the country. Then Nico comes in, first time leading a program, as the leader of the strength program, and he's killing it, getting all these props from even Deshaun Pace, someone that doesn't need to put on a bunch of size and lift a bunch of heavy weight. But I think Dante was interesting just because of the body transformation that he went through coming from Colerain. He had to lose a bunch of weight, and Nico even came in this year after he had such a stellar season, saying you're going to get leaner and faster.
Well, and Satterfield said he's as fast as some of the linebackers at this point. And who the hell saw that coming?
Yeah, that's where I remember the first podcast I came on after like I announced that I was joining BCJ. I asked Chad, like, is he going to be like top first round kind of guy? And Chad was like, no. But if he can be that fast, and he mentioned that he studies Aaron Donald because the big three that he'd used to start his super team was Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Aaron Donald. If he studies him, he's very similar to him in terms of a height and scheme and speed standpoint. Plus that 2 looks really good on him at nose tackle. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that in the backfield all season. But yeah, he's an interesting cat. He talked about Oklahoma saying, I don't see Power 5, Group of 5, anything. I just see someone lining up across from me, and I have to like demolish you. So he was interesting. He was one of the better guys that I heard from both days I was there.
I thought it was interesting coming from Juwan Briggs, who I look at as cerebral in the way that he thinks about questions, answers questions, and talks through his answers.
Yeah.
But he used that word to describe Dante. And I felt like that was high praise coming from Juwan Briggs in calling Dante cerebral.
Yeah. Extremely smart. And when you can go about that position, which is so just based off of aggression and trying to maul the person in front of you, like if you can go about it meticulously, that just makes you so much better because it proves that you studied so much film, you know, the tendencies of your opponent. And that just takes it to another level. And I look forward to seeing him put together like a first round mock draft campaign this year and seeing like what he can do in terms of rivaling other Big 12 tackles, defenders, all that stuff, and try to be a high draft pick next year.
It's not that I don't think Dante can be a first round draft pick. It's just that he doesn't. We've gone through this with the NFL stuff over and over again. He just isn't the prototype, like 6'3", 6'4", you know, like so. I'm jaded on the NFL when it comes to their insistence on the boxes being checked. And there's just a box or two I think Dante doesn't check that will keep him being from round 1, but will get him drafted. You know, I mean, like Geno Atkins was a just destructive force in college and ended up going, you know, way down like 3rd, 4th round, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes from. Not that I don't think that Dante, I mean,
4th round.
Yeah. Not that I don't think Dante is a first round, like a guy that's going to have that type of impact, but the NFL just is
set
very
in their
stubborn,
ways.
very stubborn when it comes to a guy that has his measurables being elevated all the way up to the first round. But look, man, if you look at it, like people are placing him as the number 1 defender in the Big 12.
That's big game boomer.
So. Well, but no, there's like he was the number 1
PFF
rated defender in PFF in the country last year.
Yeah.
Right. And they're expecting him to repeat.
Yeah. So that's not big game boomer. Let's not don't get
that was
you're getting a little big for your britches tonight, Keegan.
I blame Tonk.
Yeah, this is Tonk's fault.
Ranking the top 50 players in the Big 12 and Quinn Ewers was like 43. I was like, okay, you're just trying to piss off Texas fans.
That's what that account does.
Yeah.
That's what that account does.
Yeah, but if he can translate what he did last season into the Big 12 this season, I think he's going to have a great shot to be a first.
He's going to be a day 1, day 2 pick. Like that part, I'm confident in.
Yeah.
That should be fun for Colerain, though. I mean, the whole west side of Cincinnati will celebrate that. I mean, there's not going to be
and there's been very few guys that are more Colerain than Dante. Like he just embraces it. Like he just oozes west side of Cincinnati.
Who would you compare to that?
Bird, maybe.
Terrell Bird.
Bird had
and he
some
mentioned
of that
him.
Confidence. Yeah, Bird had some of that confidence. And like, I mean, Keegan was probably in 2nd, 3rd grade at that point in time. He came out of Colerain in 05, 04, 05.
I was
a toddler.
4 years old.
I feel like Ivan was more boastful on Colerain than Deshaun has been in Deshaun's entire tenure.
West side, best side.
Well, Deshaun just doesn't really talk.
Well, there is
Ivan. Once you got Ivan talking, Ivan would talk. Deshaun doesn't say a whole lot. Period. Dante loves this shit. Like, he is living his best life right now.
Yeah.
Like everything he ever possibly could have dreamed of is coming true. Paul, we're talking about personality, not size. Like, this isn't I think Dante Corleone is a Terrell Bird type player. We're talking about, like,
who represented Colerain.
Yeah. We're talking about the Colerain thing, the personality, the other stuff. And Dante could probably eat Terrell Bird.
Yeah, Goody was never super vocal when Goody was here.
No, he just smiled.
Yes. I mean, even when we played
magnetic smile.
I played an entire season of not fantasy, flag football with him. And he didn't talk much. He's like, just throw me the ball. I get it.
Yeah. But he had a huge, like, a magnetic smile. I love Goody. Goody, that's the one way you could see Goody now and, like, normally not recognize him, and then he smiles and you're like, Goody, how you been, brother? What's up? Like, he just had that.
He's good people, like, for sure.
Very good people. Love Goody. There's like 50 Colerain guys we could talk about.
Well, I mean, my dad was a Colerain graduate as well, so I've heard plenty of stories of Colerain over the years as he continued to attend all of the football games.
The only thing I love is that now it's universally, like, accepted that we just call Gary Westside Jesus.
Yeah,
like, that is a normal part of the vernacular now.
Nico said it, and Nico's only been here for like 7 months, 6 months, whatever it's been.
He's that's like that. That's not his nickname. That's his name. He's Westside Jesus.
Yeah, it's fine. Do you have anything more on the guys from UC, Chad, at this point?
No, I mean, I think we've hit on most of it. I would like to have heard a little bit more about the offensive line and kind of what Sat thinks, but that's good because that gives us something here in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks when we get to higher ground to kind of dig in on a little bit more.
Considering there's only one guy that we've seen take actual snaps wearing a C-paw.
He specifically mentioned Kandra and Buford. That's the one thing I can say.
The Buford thing is interesting. Yeah. But like, he gave a snippet. I want like a chapter on what we can expect when we get to higher ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that part I think is just missing a little bit. We know the wide receiver story. We know the running back story. Tight end, I thought there was a decent chance they'd try to go find one this summer, but that didn't happen. So it's going to be the Shaman show, and we'll see if Peyton Singletary can make some strides, and Caleb Schmitz and
Peyton looked good in the spring game.
Mm-hmm.
He's started to
elevated his game. Yeah, for sure.
You could see it at the end of last year behind Josh and Lenny. We were never going to see it in the games, but you could see he was becoming a little bit more confident. And then in the spring, he started to take even another step. That man loves Whataburger. Are you just reusing the cup?
Yes, it's from last night.
I thought you got more, you got more Whataburger.
Chad, you only gave him $37.
That's right. He's got to use the styrofoam cup when he gets back.
I've done that. Tap water using the cup, man. Come on.
I've done that, man. You go to you're at Airbnb, so you had to fill up the ice trays, then get the ice trays into the Whataburger cup. Like, I get it. I feel you.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked about Scott Satterfield earlier, but as we're moving off of Cincinnati, what do you know today about Brett Yormark that you didn't know yesterday, or 2 days ago?
Gangster.
Yeah, I didn't. He know how. He might not have. I really didn't know how charismatic he was. And we talked about it last night, but he's just not a normal commissioner. Like, that position, it's basically like you're the president of a conference. Like, there can be no holes. You can't be interesting at all. You're supposed to be buttoned up and boring, and just
he's out of the box in every way possible.
Yeah. What did he? I was going to ask. What did he do before he was commissioner?
You don't know?
No.
He ran NASCAR. He ran the Brooklyn Nets. He ran
Rockefeller
for Jay-Z.
Okay. Yeah. That's
his resume is pretty good.
Yeah, that just makes it all the more interesting, and that's really what the Big 12 needs. So, which I was telling people, I was like, I don't know what to expect from him because he's not the usual commissioner. I feel like the Big Ten thing with USC and UCLA came out of nowhere because Warren held his cards close and didn't share anything with anyone, didn't signal anything. But now it's kind of like any day Utah or Oregon could just be in the Big 12, and because he set the expectation that you don't know what to expect from him. So I'm excited. It makes my job interesting covering a commissioner like that, and I'm looking forward to seeing him come to Clifton for that Oklahoma game, for that Big 12 homecoming.
I won't get into any of the stuff from yesterday as far as TCU, Houston, Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Texas, BYU. But what were your takeaways today as you listened to the coaches talk today, specifically like UCF, West Virginia, Oklahoma, teams that we're going to play, but also rivalry teams at this point?
Neil Brown was hilarious to me because he just went up there and he said, you know what? You picked us last and you're all wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. And one of the things I'm going to list of why you're wrong is my punter and long snapper.
Stop it.
He literally did. He said, I have one of the best punters and long snappers in the country. That's why we're not going to come in 14th. And I looked at Scott.
13th minimum.
Mason Fletcher would like a word.
I turned to Scott and I was like, is this guy serious? He spent like 5 minutes defending West Virginia. Like,
Neil Brown will kick it over his fucking head.
But yeah, so he listed his punter and long snapper as the reason why they're not going to come in last. That was hilarious. Matt Campbell was interesting. I don't think he was asked about gambling near as much as I thought he was going to be asked about gambling. Let's see, what other notes do I have here? UCF is supposed to have quality depth on both lines. That's what Gus Malzahn said. That up front.
I want to stop you at UCF real quick because we neglected to talk about this last night. You guys neglected to talk about this last night. But Cincinnati has been getting trashed by UCF fans all over Twitter. And just put a pin in whatever you were going to say because I don't want to get too far away from it. But Cincinnati's been getting trashed by UCF Twitter because of a placeholder uniform that they have used on the stage. Meanwhile, UCF has the same prototype.
It's the exact same uniform with the badge instead of
there's actually on as part of the jersey instead of an iron-on patch. Yeah. I get that, but they only have 3 diamonds in the pants. That's it. There's nothing else different. Why are they?
Yeah, the number goes from the belt to the neck. That's the only part of the uniform is the massive number. I didn't get it.
Look, I don't know. It gets boring at 3 a.m. when you're working the front desk at the Howard Johnson. You got to do something.
I don't understand why they're trying to come at Cincinnati's neck for having the same jerseys with a Nike deal in place as opposed to the BSN deal in place. And they make sure to mention that every single time if they're not trying to say that Cincinnati got this jersey and pants from Walmart. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but what I was talking about, they're supposed to have quality depth on both lines, so offensively and defensively. Malzahn said that they're supposed to be tough. The new offensive coordinator, he wants to extend the field and try to get the ball deep because Malzahn pointed out.
That's all they've ever done. Field and try to get the ball deep.
Malzahn said they were like 88th in yards per catch last season, and he said
quarterback stinks.
I'm just not going to talk about UCF anymore.
Well, he's a better baseball player than he is a football player, and I don't know that that's a secret.
But yeah, so that's the big thing with the offensive coordinator is he wants to extend the field. So that's what you see.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at Gus through you. It's fine.
Yeah, they have K-State for their first conference game and Baylor for their first conference home game. So
0-2.
I think they, and I'm not going to say that.
Do you feel like they went at Brent Venables?
There will be no Orlando Tech love here, Keegan. Have you not read the rules of the contract?
It's not love. It's the contract.
Do you think they went at Brent Venables the same way they went at Steve Sarkisian yesterday?
Absolutely not. No. I think Venables.
Everybody hates Texas, man. They hate Texas.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is when Venables came down. So basically at the media, at the setup, they go to the podium, then they walk down the stairs to like a tiny little, like you saw it, the backdrop where they stand in front, and it's a scrum. So I'm like, you know what? I want to talk to Venables. I'm going to stand by the backdrop for the entire podium presser just to make sure I get a good spot. And when I'm standing there and Venables is walking up, their SID, whatever he was, assistant, he said, it's going to be short, guys. I'm like, okay, like he just doesn't want to talk to us. He stood over there for like 15 minutes talking to reporters. So like, I think Oklahoma is way more welcome there than Texas is just because of the area where they are. And I don't think people like Steve Sarkisian on top of already hating Texas. So
they hate Texas, hate Texas. It's hilarious to me.
And apparently Venables coached at Kansas State and played at Nippert. It wasn't the Oklahoma at Paul Brown mistake that I tweeted out. So, but that was in the 90s.
So, anything from Joe McGuire or Chris Kleiman?
Chris Kleiman, the only thing I have on him is that they were 66th ranked portal team in terms of getting guys out of the portal. They did not do well. Got to replace Deuce Vaughn. I think that's going to be an interesting thing who picks up at running back there. But yeah, not much on Kleiman since they're not playing Kansas State. I kind of just tried to focus on the teams in the Big 12 that they were playing. But McGuire's an interesting dude. He seemed really happy. Everyone was really welcoming him there. So they like Texas Tech way more than Texas. But yeah.
Getting to the most interesting question I have for you, unless you have any more questions on what he had today, Chad.
No, I'm good. I've grown him enough today.
How was the macaroni?
Okay. So I tweeted this, and I'm not kidding.
What time was it served? Let's get there, because yesterday you said you had Tex-Mex at
it was noon, so it was a real lunch. I think I ate.
If they served that macaroni and cheese at 4 a.m., at 8 a.m., at 2 p.m., I'm eating it. It doesn't matter what time they're throwing that macaroni and cheese at me.
Yeah, so I'm in the buffet line, and I see the green beans. I'm like, all right, I got to get some greens in there. I got to be healthy. I grab like 6 green beans and put them on my plate. And they take up so much room because they're so long. And then I pile that whole side with mac and cheese. So this real estate on my side of the plate could have been a whole nother helping of mac and cheese. And that was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life.
Chad, correct me.
You're going to listen to me one day, Keegan. I told you 2 helpings of mac and cheese. Did I not?
I would have gone back through the line.
Helpings. Yeah. I'd have gone back and got another.
I did go back through the line.
I did too. Remember, we had the security guards, like the people that worked in the thing, and they were like, that mac and cheese wins awards. And I was like, yep, it sure as fuck does.
That's what I was going to get to, was that conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they said the secret ingredient in that macaroni and cheese is truffle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The only other better mac and cheese I've had is Joe's barbecue in Kansas City, which is like world-renowned best food ever. So
it should surprise you zero that Jerry Jones is throwing truffle in his macaroni and cheese.
I had a cheesecake bite that changed my life.
There's apparently just a lady that works in the thing that that the mac and cheese is like, that's her job.
That's her,
is to make the mac and cheese at Jerry World. I'm dead serious.
They hired her.
They knew her name.
Yeah,
they knew her name.
They hired her specifically for her mac and cheese. Like she won the job because of her mac and cheese.
Yeah, like that's all she does every day is just make mac and cheese at Jerry World
with truffle.
It was so good.
I bet that mac and cheese costs an obscene amount.
Yep,
strictly based on the truffle.
Yeah, and I don't like mushroom. Like that's not my jam. Is like the earthy like whatever. But that mac and cheese, oh buddy, like in terms of like media food. I don't know there's ever been a media food I enjoyed more than that mac and cheese.
That's the best media food. Second is basketball at Michigan.
It's been a year and a half since I've been to Jerry World.
He still thinks about it.
And I'm still thinking about that buffet. And I'm still thinking about the fact that they changed the buffet at halftime and there was a whole new buffet.
There was. That is factual.
That was when we got the Tex-Mex was at halftime.
Yeah.
They changed the whole buffet. The desserts were changed. The entire buffet was changed. And there was all new everything.
But, so did they have the cutting station today? Like, was that like what you guys got today?
No cutting station. Just kind of brisket laid long ways in the pan. But it was
the cutting station was legit too.
The cutting station was pretty legit. It wasn't as good as the mac and cheese, but it was up there. Like it was solid.
I mean, it made a good combo for sure.
Oh yeah.
You
got to get back down. Like, got to play in the Big 12 championship game sometime soon, so we can get back to that mac and cheese.
Please.
My daughter only wants to go to Dallas because they have In-N-Out. I only want to go back for the mac and cheese. Bearcat Mick has had the mac and cheese at Jerry's World, and it's awesome. it is. And look,
too many things are awesome. Awesome is not the word for that mac and cheese.
Here's the thing. I would say 9 out of 10 mac and cheeses that I have out in the world are not good.
Yeah.
Like people just don't do mac and cheese right. Like when they're serving it, like mass producing mac and cheese.
Yeah. When you're making a very large tray of mac and cheese, it's generally not
very hard to get right.
Right.
I would give her Keegan and your salary combined.
You can't afford her, Chad.
To live at no, I can't.
She's making Jerry's World money. You can't afford her.
I would cut off all of the help in Bearcat Journal to hire Jerry's World mac and cheese lady. I've got an extra bedroom. She can live there.
You don't have enough time for that.
You're right. I don't. But I would do it. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do it. I would still do it.
And that's how Chad buried. That's how Chad buried Bearcat Journal.
Where's all the team? They weren't as good as the mac and cheese.
As you're eating mac and cheese.
I spent a year's salary for my entire team on 3 helpings
of Jerry's World mac and cheese. Yeah. She's only here. She comes up one day a month, makes me a tray of mac and cheese, and then goes back to Jerry's World.
And I can't afford the rest of my staff for the entire year.
It's fine. I'm okay with it. Like sometimes you spend $200 on a rickshaw. Sometimes you buy the mac and cheese lady at Jerry's World for one day a month.
You got anything else, Chad?
No, I think we're pretty good. We got to let Keegan get to bed. Your Uber comes at what? 4:30?
4:30.
What else do you have in line for the Bearcat Journal fans from your foray at Media Day? You got anything else lined up?
Oh yeah, I'll have 2 or 3 more stories that I'll be starting to work on tomorrow. Hometown hero piece. And then I need to think about what else. But there was way too much content today for my Emory Jones thing to just be the only thing I had. So maybe something specifically on Dante. Dante's an interesting dude.
Enjoy your Spirit Airlines flight.
Frontier.
Oh,
just barely better. Just barely better.
I hope you're not trying to bring any mac and cheese. That'll be $100 mac and cheese if you try to put it in your bag.
It's like Napoleon Dynamite. I'm just stuffing it.
Worth it.
I love it. All right, man. Awesome. Look, bring it back. Hold on. Awesome stuff this week. I want to give him his flowers. Awesome stuff this week. It was your first week, really like front and center, getting to do the job and represent Bearcat Journal. You crushed it. There's a bunch of video on this YouTube channel. The stories are on the front page of Bearcat Journal. Your Twitter feed was phenomenal this week. So well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Paul said you could bribe the airline crew with the match.
Yeah. Just give them one noodle, and then they're like, okay, you're good.
Let him through. Let him through.
Priority access.
Oh, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, Marcus. Great news and entertainment. Look, we try to be both. Like some people think laughing in a podcast is the worst thing in the world. Others people realize that sometimes having fun is what sports is all about. That's going to wrap it up. We'll see you Saturday, Sunday, somewhere in there. I don't know. Depends on what all happens, but we'll be back soon. That is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!